Hi there, you're watching an instructional video on how to install aftermarket speakers on a second generation Mercury Mariner or Ford Escape. I'll be doing this install on a 2008 Mercury Mariner. The goal of this install is to replace your stock speakers, which may be blown or just not sound very good, with the aftermarket speakers. If you're uncomfortable with doing work on your own car yourself, please consider taking it to a local aftermarket auto shop. You will be using a couple tools on your car and removing the trim. If this seems uncomfortable at all, please just watch the video, see if you feel comfortable with it, and then go along with doing it. And the first thing you're going to have to do is choose whatever speaker you want to install into your car to replace the stock speaker. I went ahead and chose this JVC CS V6837. When you choose a speaker, make sure you're choosing a 6x8 speaker. These are the ones that fit the front doors of the second generation Mercury Mariner or Ford Escape. Now let's discuss what tools you'll need for the job. This row here are all the tools that you absolutely will need. These are kind of optional tools that you will need. First, you will need a medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver. This will be used on a lot of the different screws throughout the car. You'll need a medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver. This will be used for prying against the trim. A smaller sized Phillips head screwdriver, just for smaller cracks, also for a little bit of the small trim in the door panel. You'll see that later on, where you'll need a smaller Phillips head screwdriver. You'll need your wire cutters as well as the wire stripper. You'll be using 20 gauge wire in your wire stripper, so just make sure that it has that option here in your wire stripper. And finally, you will need the T30 star bit. Now going over some of the optional tools that you can use. One, electrical tape. If you just want to go with the taping route, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want to go with this shrink tube, that's the route I'm going to go. I'll be showing you later how to actually do that. You can pick up shrink tube at any kind of department store, Best Buy, Radio Shack, etc. You'll need a lighter for that. There are a few sequential steps we will have to do in order to access the speakers. First, we'll have to remove the screws. Second, we have to take out the window corner piece. Third, we'll have to pop the trim off from the rivets. And fourth, we'll have to disconnect all the harnesses that are connected to the trim. We will go step by step and show you exactly how this is done. Let's first start by removing the 4 Phillips head screws that are very apparent on the sides of the door. First one is at the top here. Second one is here. Third one is here. And the fourth one is here in the little hand holder. Alright, let's take a standard Phillips head screwdriver and we'll undo them. Now we need all the hardware, all the screws, for our install once we put everything back together, so be sure to put it in a safe place. I'm going to be putting it in the cup holder inside the car. Now the final screw that we need to remove is actually being hidden by this little plastic panel here behind the door handle. So we'll need to take our little small flathead screwdriver and pry that out. Alright, let's do that now. Big trick to this, open up the door handle first and then you can access behind it to reach in. Alright, let's do it. There we go. Got it. And as you can see, we've got this hex screw right here. Now this star bit's a little tricky. You'll need the T30 star bit here. You can find these at any local hardware store. It may not be as common to actually have in a toolbox, but I'm telling you, they're definitely handy to have. So if you don't have this, I highly recommend picking it up. Usually only a couple bucks. So we're gonna use the T30. I've got my bit in, let's unscrew it. We're going to take a little bit of a larger flathead screwdriver than we used before, and we're going to start to pry around the plastic just to pop off the trim. This is when we first will be taking out some of the plastic pieces from their rivets. Just like that. Now as you can see here, there's a harness right here. We're just going to take the clip underneath, push in, and pull out. That will release this plastic piece from the harness. Now it's time to remove the actual trim from the door. This is the part where people get a little bit hesitant because they feel like they're actually breaking something. You aren't unless you really feel like you're forcing something. You will hear a pop noise, and that'll be the rivets coming out. There are rivets all along the sides here, and I'll show you what they look like once we pop this actual trim out. So we'll take the flathead screwdriver, we'll go along the sides and slowly pop them out. Hear that pop noise? It's the rivet slowly releasing. Gonna go over to this side now. Hear that again? Once again, that's that rivet popping out from the main door. There you go. Make sure it can swing freely on the bottom. That's how you know you have all your rivets out. Now that we've popped all the rivets out, we have to actually lift the trim up over the lock mechanism here. So we're just gonna lift up and over the window trim. And it should pull right off and kind of dangle off the harnesses like so. As you can see up here, we have two harnesses, one here and one here. And then we've got one in the back here. Each one has its own little lever under the bottom. It's just a little clip. You push down on it and then you pull out, just like we did on this harness up here. Now we're looking at a top-down view of the trim, and this is the door lock mechanism. So you've got this kind of white wire coming in, this white piece of plastic attached, and then the sort of metal ball bearing that's in there. We're first gonna pop this out from the plastic, like so. And then you'll see this metal ball bearing right here. We just unhinge it, pop it out. Now your door trim is totally free. There we go. Now that we have the trim off the door, it's time for us to remove the speaker off of the main part of the door. There are 4 screws holding it in. Here, 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 and here. We'll just take the harness off from the speaker. There's a little clip, you just pull it right out, just like these other harnesses. Your speaker's detached. So we're gonna need a cut right here at the end of the wires. And we don't need this piece of the harness anymore. This plastic piece right here we'll be able to throw out. Your new speaker should come with wires, something like this. They've got the quick connects, one's a little bit bigger than the other. And then it's just a simple positive and negative lead on these wires. Now, first way that we can do this is with electrical tape. It's easy enough. All you're doing is just twisting up the wires and then taping them together, but it doesn't have the sturdiest hold. Now the next method that I'm going to use is with the heat shrink tube. So you're going to take your tubing and you're going to run it down your wire here. Then you're going to twist the copper terminals together. So make sure that the wire is nice and tight along with each other. Like so. Then you're going to take the heat shrink tubing and actually have it go over top just like that. Now we're going to take our lighter and apply heat. This will shrink the tubing and get the wire to be nice and snug. So now that you saw how to actually attach a new wire on that'll have leads to connect to your speaker terminals, let's go ahead and plug it back in. So we've got our terminals here. This is our positive, here's our negative. Typically the positive lead will be the larger of the two. Now what we're gonna do, we just plug these quick connects in. We are good to go. And now let's just screw our screws back in and put our new speaker in. Now that we've got the speaker in place and wired up, let's go ahead and test it out. Warning, when you turn on the car, be sure not to touch any live wires in here. The door is exposed, you don't want to touch the harnesses just in case of any cause of electrical shock. So let's test her out. Now that your speaker is working properly, we're going to go ahead and reattach everything that we took off. This means going in complete reverse order from how we took things off. So first, we're going to put the harnesses back on and connect the door lever. Then we're going to take the trim and place it over the windowsill as it was sitting before. Then we're going to pop all the rivets back in on the sides, making sure that every single one is popped in. So you're going to give it a nice gentle kind of shove in, making sure you hear that pop. Then we're going to connect the corner piece back up here. And finally we'll put in our 5 screws. The 1 star screw here, and then the 4 that were all around. So let's go ahead and do that. And there you have it. Let's just make sure that everything works. Make sure that your connectors are all firmly attached. So start up your car again. Just make sure window works. Make sure that your lock and unlock works. Door hinge works. And you're good to go. Well, now that you've got your first speaker installed, now you can go on and do the passenger door. It's exactly the same process, just follow that lead. Everything, of course, is just on the passenger side. And there you have it. Well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you've learned how to install aftermarket speakers on a 2nd generation Mercury Mariner and Ford Escape. Good luck with it all.